All right, we're here with Angelo Batio at GoDPSMusic, July 2017. You haven't done that many clinics this year, have you?
No, no. It's funny. Earlier in my career, I never even had an idea that a clinic existed. So I went from concerts and bands, transitioned to clinics, and I've had a really long run doing clinics. I mean, not many people have done more than me, and probably been as successful as I have in it. But over the years, the last few years, I've seen kind of the writing on the wall, and you get to a point where you want to, the passion. I was starting to lose it for clinics. I like playing with the band, so I reformed Nitro, talked to the singer Jim Gillette, and we're working with the A League in every area. So that's going to be really the future. I'm not saying I'm not doing clinics. I still love them, but the passion's in it more that I don't get to do as many. It's really transitioned into concerts. Like 90% of what I do is concerts, whether it's solo or with a band, and then Nitro's going to kick in later this year. I've learned, I have a degree in music, so I can talk about color pointillism and stretto and counterpoint and recapitulations in sonata form. I can say a lot of words that nobody knows about it, really cares about. So what I do in clinics is kind of how I approached instructional programs. Keep it simple. And so what I'm going to talk about is a lot of the Chromacast products that I have, signature models and things with, but also talk about rock and roll stories. I mean, I've toured in 58 countries, and I mean, I've seen more of China than most Chinese. I'm going there for the 15th time in August. So I like to talk about what it's like in music. And I'm going to talk about something else that I think is really important. You read about the decline of rock and you read about the decline of guitar, and I've thought about this a lot. And there is one reason it's not really declining. We need pop stars to play instruments again. Taylor Swift sells more guitars to girls than any other person in the world. Acoustic guitars overtook electric guitars, and there's one main reason. A lot of girls are buying guitars. Why? Taylor Swift. If you think of the past, the Jackson 5, there's Michael Jackson singing. His brothers are playing instruments. And so we need pop stars to quit lip syncing and to start actually lip sync a guitar. Make a guitar, but put a guitar in your hands and you're going to see everything turn around overnight. And guitar is still the most popular instrument in the world. But my mantra today is to think about pop music and take it a little bit away from computers and bring it back to real people. Michael Jackson's Thriller. There's Steve Lukather there rocking in the background. They were real players doing real things and selling millions and millions of albums. Doug Marks, he's the founder. When you think of the instructional video, he's the man. He's the first. Okay, so and then Jim and I and Doug have this long history together. And one thing that we all have in common, we're all workaholics. We've all done things that were different. We've all thought outside the box. I never wanted to do a Nitro reunion, and I never even did a Nitro song up until last year ever. And it's the thing where Nitro was such an intense band because Jim Gillette is like put it this way, he is a person that he's like a leader that can get millions of people to follow him. He can tell you black is white and white is black enough times where after a while you start to believe it. It's very rare that people are like this. So when I know what Nitro was in the past, it was so outrageous in every area. I didn't know if my brain could handle it or my body. But I thought after doing clinics for so many years, I have 12 solo albums. I've reached the pinnacle of success in what I do. Monetarily, I've been voted the #1 in a million magazines. So I've gotten accolades all over the world. I don't really care about that. I just care about being happy. And I started getting to the point where playing on stage as a one-man show wasn't doing it for me anymore. And so I talked to Jim, and I knew what I was getting into. And I'll give you an example. Here's the first thing. He comes over to my house. We're working on songs. And we are prolific writers. People never gave us credit for the songs that we wrote. And I have an iconic song in No Boundaries. Oh, we can't write. Well, I have one of the most famous instrumental songs on guitar that there is. But I wrote it, but I can't write. And so Jim and I, we've always known songwriting's the key. All of a sudden, I'm programming these drums, and I'm a really, really good programmer. I've done it for decades. And So I do all the nuances, and I'm saying, Jim, we don't need a drummer anymore. This is metal. And he goes, yeah, you're right. So we're working. He goes, who are we going to get for drums? And I go, I don't know. Who do you want? He goes, well, who can play this stuff? I don't know. He goes, how about Chris Adler from Lamb of God? He goes, do you know him? I go, no. He goes, we're going to get him. And so then I realized, but this is Jim. And our producers, Kane Churko and his father Kevin did Sound of Silence by Disturbed. They did Ozzy Osbourne. They did Five Finger Death Punch. They did what's the new band with their female singer that just got a gold record? Like As I Lay Dying, or one of those bands. All That Remains, I can't remember. But they are the #1 production team in metal out there. Who's our producer? Kane. And so this is the way Jim rolls. And so that's what the reformation of Nitro. When we start touring, it's going to be outrageous. I mean, he's that kind of person. And I'm behind him, meaning that I'm a kind of person where I put out a video of my double guitar playing the Star Spangled Banner on Facebook, 1.3 million views. Speed Kills with Metal Method with Doug, 17 million. So I've got this other thing. So between me and Jim, it's going to be nuts. But the reason I reformed Nitro is I asked myself, I'm not young anymore, but I still have all my skills. I feel fantastic. I have no aches and pains, anything. I feel like a kid. But I said, what's going to make me happy? What do I want to do? Because to me, I've done everything I've wanted in my life. I don't go by a rule book. I don't go by plan B. I only had plan A. That's it. And so I live my life exactly the way I want to do it. If I want to do something, I do it. If I don't, I don't. And I don't care, because I don't care about money, because I make money because I don't care. If I worried, then I wouldn't. I don't care about a lot, meaning I only care about what makes me happy. And I want to surround myself with great people. That's key in life. And so Nitro makes me happy. I crack up. Some of the stuff, Jim will just say something so far gone and off the wall, and we end up doing it. I mean, we shattered glass. He shattered glass with his voice. We advertised it in the old BAM magazine. We didn't know how to do it. We had no clue. We had 1 month to figure this thing out, but we did it. He walked down stage on Gazzari's and did it. And it was on Mythbusters, but I know that's how Nitro is. So it's a long explanation, but it's a life lesson for people that you don't have to live other people's lives. If you enjoy doing something, if you have the passion for it, you can do it your whole life. Tony Bennett's 90 years old. He's still singing great. I want to play. I don't care if I'm in a wheelchair. As long as I can do this, I'll do it. And so I just want to keep playing and doing what I like to do.
How about Victor Wooten becoming part of the project? How did that come about?
Well, again, another A-list guy. We only have A-list people working with us. Chris Adler brought him up. He said, he's of two schools. Chris is the greatest drummer I've ever played with, and I've played with virtually everybody. And he's not schooled. So when he writes a drum chart, I swear it looks like caveman hieroglyphics. But his playing, not since Alex Van Halen has a drummer had a sound. When you hear Chris Adler's snare drum, it is Chris Adler, and it's very rare that a drummer can get his own tone. Like you hear Carmine and Vinny Appice, when they play, they have a sound that's this big, full sound. Well, Chris has got that, but he's also got these young chops where his feet are like, he can play anything. And it's really, really incredible to work with him. But we were talking about this because he actually signed on to be a hired gun. We were going to pay him to do the record, which is what we would normally do. But then we got along so well, he became a full member. So he's not leaving Lamb of God, but he's a full member of Nitro, and he only is touring with them 2 or 3 months this year. We've been working with him early in the past, but he recommended Victor. He goes, let's just blow this thing up. He goes, let's find the greatest bass player we can find on the planet. And so Victor wanted to do a metal project, and Chris's buddies with him. And Chris, he goes, and when Chris approached Victor, Victor goes, "Oh yeah, Michelangelo, that guy that plays 2 guitars." He goes, "I'm a fan." He goes, "I'm into it." So then we gave him the song, and see, here's a great thing. I'm playing 7th string, so my bandwidth is here. He's only a 4-string bass player, but I personally think he's the greatest bass player on the planet. I don't think anybody can touch what he does, and he's so musical. So in the context of Nitro, I'm playing like this low stuff, and he's almost playing lead bass in between. But he agreed to do it. He's only playing on the record, but he wants to do live shows when we can accommodate him. We're using right now on tour, I hope I said Matt's last name right, Matt DeVries. He played in Fear Factory. He also played in Lamb of God as bass player, filling in for their bass player. So he's going to be our touring bass player in the near future, and he's really great and a really cool guy. But Victor was Chris's idea. Victor was a fan of mine, and he liked what we did. And we're releasing our first song called "It Won't Die" with the foursome in about a week and a half.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it's amazing. Yeah, and Kane Shurko produced it. You know, the producer I told you about. He's our producer from here on out. So it's going to be great.
So yeah, big plans for this year for Nitro
Well,
then.
you know, I don't want to ever say it's going to do this and do that, but all we're doing is the best that we can. And, you know, I have been out there performing ever since. I have 12 solo albums out. I'm a prolific releaser and writer of music and releasing it. We are not trying to relive the past. We're not shying away from the past either. We're releasing a movie next Tuesday. It's really great because it pays tribute to what we've done. We're not trying to show that we're trying to forget about this, but we are not going to be a band that plays with LA Guns and Great White and Red. Our music is completely different than that. But conversely, we are not trying to be this young new metal band. But Jim has a great death metal voice, but he's a singer. So he sings, and his voice sounds exactly the same. He can sing all the highs. His voice sounds, if you put on old Nitro and new, when you hear him sing, it's like, there's no years difference. But I think it's going to be real. I think people are going to like it, you know, and we have high hopes, but you never know.
Very good.
But we believe in it. You know, that's the main thing.
What are you going to do for your next instructional video?
We're going to do, Doug is here right now. I released a thing, we did this through Metal Method. I study jazz guitar, and what I did was, it's an introduction to jazz. And I found like a lot of young guitar players now did what I did. I didn't start playing rock. I started playing jazz, but I liked rock more. I just like the aggression, and I like more girls in the audience, let's face it. And so, but what I did was I wrote 25 jazz progressions, and basically it'd be like a 1-6-2-5, and then, for example, C major 7th can be substituted by an E minor 7th chord. They have tones in common. So the first half is the progression, the second half is a substitution of the first half. So if people don't want to know that, it's a 25-week course, and I wrote it with there was a jazz guitarist that I took lessons from when I was a teenager named Stu Pierce. And he was from Chicago, and when I was going to college, he was a really great jazz teacher. So he introduced me to this idea, and then I took it and I made it into a course. So that's what we're going to do. We released it on DVD, but it wasn't me teaching it, and it didn't really do that well. I don't think people got it. But when I explain what this is, it's an introductory course to listening to the sounds of jazz. So I'm not trying to teach somebody to play bebop or you know, Charlie Parker or even Joe Pass or Charlie Christian. What it is about, okay, you've got to learn these chords, C minor 7, C sharp diminished 7, augmented 11ths where you roll your thumb over the guitar. That's what it's about. And it sounds like a lot, but it's actually, when you learn it, it's very musical, and it's an introductory course to learning the sounds of jazz.